Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, March 1st, the very first day of the month of March, and it looks like the overall weather pattern across the nation will turn colder over the next couple of weeks, and that colder weather pattern looks like it could continue right into the month of April as well. We have a major storm to deal with already pounding away at California that will have a big impact across much of the nation over the next few days. We'll focus in on that. Let's first start off by looking kind of at the longer term here. We've been looking at teleconnection indices over the past couple of weeks that tend to signal a return to a cold weather pattern across much of the nation. This is a particular map of what we call the Madden-Julian Oscillation Index, and it attracts a tropical disturbance as it progresses or propagates around the tropics. And depending on what particular phase the MJO is in, empirical observations tend to lead to specific types of temperature and precipitation patterns around the world, depending on the time of the year. In this particular time of the year, when the MJO rotates into what we call phase 8, and perhaps after that into phase 1, that tends to be a colder weather pattern for much of the nation. And indeed, this is the European model forecast over the next couple of weeks for the MJO. Again, these are the phase numbers right here: phase 7, phase 8, and then phase 1. And this whole pattern rotates in a counterclockwise fashion. The forecast is seen here in red and then in blue from the latest European model run, and you can see it traverses through phase 8 and then traverses through phase 7 and then into phase 8, and perhaps after that it'll end up back in phase 1. And again, these two phases right here tend to be correlated with a colder weather pattern, certainly across the eastern part of the nation and potentially across much of the nation. So this is something that is kind of combining with some of those other teleconnection indices that we periodically look at here at ArcfieldWeather.com, such as the NAO and AO, that tend to favor a return to a colder weather pattern over the next couple of weeks across much of the nation. And here are some of those temperature composite maps for the MJO. Again, depending on what we call a phase, what phase it's in for this time of the year, the February, March, April time frame. This is what phase 7 looks like. And indeed, we have a warmer eastern half of the nation, colder in the west, and that has been certainly has been the pattern, will continue to be the pattern over the next couple of days with a lot of mild air in the eastern half of the nation. But once you get into phase 8, first the eastern half turns to a colder than normal weather pattern, and if you ultimately end up phase 1 or 2, that ends up being a colder than normal weather pattern across much of the nation. And this is, again, based on empirical observations, depending on where that MJO phase is, what particular phase it's in, where that Madden-Julian oscillation metric is in. Again, that tracks a tropical disturbance. So this is combining with some other teleconnection indices that suggest a colder weather pattern for much of the nation will set up over the next couple of weeks and perhaps last right into the month of April. Well, before we take a look at the major storm that is already affecting California and will impact much of the nation over the next few days, let's take one longer-term look again here by using the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast maps from the ensemble run, of the European model last night, 0Z. Tend to focus here, Greenland, northeastern Canada. When you see these oranges and purples, you're way up here at above normal heights, and that is the high latitude blocking pattern that is intensifying over the next few days, and it will play a major role in the return to a colder weather pattern across, for example, the eastern half of the nation by the time we get to, let's say, March 10th and beyond here. So again, focus in on this particular area, and also down here we've had this high pressure ridge sitting right in this region right here, southeastern part of the nation, really dominating the scene aloft in that part of the nation over the past couple of months, and that has led to a mild time period in the Mid-Atlantic region, for example, and virtually a snowless time period. D.C., Philadelphia, for example. But watch what happens to that southeastern U.S. ridge over the next couple of weeks as well. And all as a result of this high latitude blocking that's developing and intensifying right now over Greenland. Let's move forward here. And again, here's the ridge of high pressure in the eastern U.S. This is now the Thursday morning forecast map. And by the way, temperatures on Thursday probably climbed to 60. D.C., maybe even Philadelphia, with this high pressure ridge continuing to dominate the scene. But notice the extension to the south and west across Greenland into northeastern Canada of those higher pressures than normal, those higher heights than normal. This is that blocking pattern setting up at the high latitudes. Let's go forward here. And we have this major storm associated with this deep upper level low here by Friday afternoon. Again, it could produce a significant snowstorm parts of the upper Midwest, maybe Chicago, for example. Look at this high latitude blocking setting up. And by the way, keep an eye on this ridge down across the southeastern U.S. Move forward here into the upcoming weekend. This is now Sunday morning, and just take a look at this high latitude blocking here over Greenland, northeastern Canada. Again, that tends to favor high pressure. Let's make this a little bolder here. High pressure in this part of North America. When you see high latitude blocking like that over Greenland, that tends to favor surface high pressure, eastern Canada, which in turn can send some cold air down into the northeast U.S., mid-Atlantic region. We have not had that kind of a pattern over the past several weeks. And here is that upper level ridge over the southeastern U.S. by the latter part of the upcoming weekend. But watch what happens after this time frame. And we're all the way after this Sunday, March 5th. Let's move forward here. High latitude blocking remains over Canada in a significant fashion. And here is that southeastern U.S. ridge about a week from now, let's say next Tuesday or Wednesday, March 7th. But thereafter, we talked about this yesterday, how these two troughs will very likely kind of join up. Trough over the Atlantic Ocean, another trough over the western part of the U.S., and they will very likely join up. And here's where all the interesting action may begin by the time we get all the way out to, well, let's say, the 10th or 11th of the month of March. First of all, notice here what is going on right here. That U.S., southeast U.S. ridge is gone by the 10th or 11th of the month of March. And that is a significant development, all as a result of high latitude blocking, which has weakened somewhat, but is still playing an important role here over Canada. Again, these upper level troughs are split at first, but then they tend to join. In this particular time period, let's say the 10th, 11th, 12th of March, is very interesting indeed for the eastern half of the nation. Again, a disappearance of that very persistent ridge over the southeastern U.S. and opening the door for some cold air flooding into the eastern U.S. in about 7 to 10 days or so and beyond that. Again, the MJO is kind of signaling that as well, supporting that idea, as are some of the other teleconnection indices. Well, let's now focus in on the immediate term here, the near term. We have a major storm that is already pounding away at California. I posted some information on the homepage of the Arcfieldweather.com website that talks about the Sierra Nevada and how incredible snowpack has developed over the past few months. And much more snow is on the way, not only with this particular storm, but another one. It looks like it'll hit California later this weekend, and the overall pattern likely to remain quite active over the next several weeks. In fact, this could turn out to be one of the top couple of winters in terms of snowpack over the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Right here, this is the forecast map from last night's zero-Z run of the GFS. This is the Eastern California Sierra Mountains Very, very significant snow with this particular storm system that continues for the next 24 hours or so in that part of the nation. A tremendous snowpack. Then accumulating snow throughout the Rocky Mountain states, upper part of the Midwest, and into the interior Northeast gets a significant snow out of this particular storm system. Again, impacting almost the entire nation from California to New England. And watch out in this region. We'll talk about this in a moment for a potential severe weather outbreak. And here is, in fact, the forecast map from NOAA's Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow into tomorrow night. Definitely a severe weather outbreak is in the cards here with very strong surface low moving from, let's say, the south central U.S. towards the Great Lakes region. And in the warm sector, there will be the threat of severe weather on Thursday into Thursday night. Quite a high threat indeed, maybe isolated tornadoes as well. Places like eastern Texas, Arkansas, northern Louisiana, the western part of Mississippi, really all the way into Alabama as well, and the Tennessee Valley. Watch out tomorrow into tomorrow night. Again, a severe weather outbreak is in the cards associated with this major storm system. Now let's walk through the surface forecast maps from last night's operational run of the GFS. And here, Sierra Nevada mountains right here. This is the area getting pounded away with some heavy snowfall in those higher elevations. Coastal rains all the way down to San Diego and really the northern region of Baja California. A nice day developing in the Mid-Atlantic region. We have a frosty morning here in the Mid-Atlantic region. Temperatures near freezing, some late night, early morning patchy fog and frost, and maybe some slick spots over the next hour or two. And typically, when you have a frost this time of the year, it's followed by a warm-up. And the reason is the frost is much more favorable with clear skies, calm conditions. In other words, high pressure sitting right on top of the region. Indeed, there's high pressure sitting over the Mid-Atlantic right now and caused some clear skies last night, calm conditions, very light winds that allowed for the formation of frost and low-level patchy fog with temperatures near freezing this morning. So with the perfect setup for frost, high pressure sitting on top of you, generally the next day or two, that high pressure will move to the east. It will be on the backside of the high, and in this part of the world, the backside of a high is a southerly flow of air, and indeed, temperatures will go from 30 degrees this morning, let's say, in the suburbs of Philadelphia to 50 to 55 degrees this afternoon and probably 60 degrees tomorrow afternoon, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. So again, frost this time of the year is typically followed by a warm-up in the near term. So let's move forward with the operational run here. And we have a cold frontal system slides through the Mid-Atlantic region on Thursday in the northeastern part of the nation. It plays kind of an important role with the storm system on a Friday. And here's that storm system slides out of California into the southwest U.S. where there will be a lot of wind, a lot of heavy snow in those higher elevation locations. Let's say Flagstaff, the Wasatch Mountains of northern Utah will get hit hard here. And this system slides into the middle part of the nation. And notice what's happening here by the time we get to tomorrow night. High pressure is starting to build over southeastern Canada. That is kind of a reflection of that intensifying blocking pattern over northeastern Canada and Greenland. This will help to send some cold air into the northeastern part of the nation by the time we get to Friday morning. Meanwhile, here you have flow of air ahead of the low that is promoting a milder, more humid conditions over the southern part of the nation, the deep south. And here is where there's the potential for some severe weather later tomorrow into tomorrow night, again, in the warm sector of that particular storm system. Let's now move forward here. Watch out, again, for severe weather right in this area later tomorrow into tomorrow night, even into the day on Friday. Significant rainfall as well over the middle Mississippi Valley, the Tennessee Valley. Could be some flooding associated with this rain event here later tomorrow into tomorrow night and Friday. And then that particular storm system will likely produce a significant snowstorm. Parts of northeastern Illinois, northern Indiana, excuse me, into Michigan. And again, with this cold high pressure system right here, by the time we get to late Friday, it kind of anchors that cold air mass in the northeastern part of the nation, setting the stage for some significant snow, let's say from upstate PA across New York State into interior New England. And that is really, let's extend it all the way back to the upper part of the Midwest. So again, this is a key player here with a significant snowstorm likely. Upper Midwest, parts of the Northeast U.S. later Friday into Friday night. Let's move ahead here. And here we go into late Friday night into Saturday morning. And the primary low heads up from the south central U.S. right to this region right here. And it runs into that atmospheric roadblock with that very, very strong blocking over the Hudson Bay region of Canada. As a result, this low grinds to a halt, tends to weaken, and low pressure jumps to the mid-Atlantic coastline. That helps to keep in the cold air in upstate Pennsylvania. May even drop back down to the south, something we'll have to watch out for, especially across Pennsylvania late Friday night into early Saturday. Maybe kind of an advancement to the north of that range snow line during the day Friday. And then it could backtrack a little bit late Friday night, as this low starts to become the main low, the most important player here by the time we get to Saturday morning. That combined with this high pressure over southeastern Canada may send some cold air back farther to the south and east late Friday night going into Saturday morning. Let's go out a little bit farther in time. And it tends to linger with some snow shower activity, maybe still some accumulating snow across eastern New England on Saturday, and that goes away. And I just want to go a little quickly here now, deeper into the month of March. This is now all the way out to next Monday, March 6th. And again, we talk about the 540 line. This is kind of a rain snow cutoff line right here, this blue dash line. Watch what happens as we progress through the month of March. We'll see an influx of cold air, again, with that pattern change to colder. Again, let's move forward quickly here through the next week or two. Now we're all the way out to about a week from now, the middle part of next week. And here's that 540 line starting to drop to the south here. And we'll go even farther in time here, all the way down to the end of next week. This is now Friday, March 10th. And again, that 540 line, something that is always of interest to monitor. Look at how far to the south this so-called rain snow line drops, all the way down into the Carolinas. And this is a cold air mass that is pouring into the Great Lakes, the northeastern part of the nation, even the Middle Atlantic region. Again, this is about 10 days out now. This is when the pattern will become more and more interesting for the eastern half of the nation, all supported by a very strong Canadian high pressure system up in Canada and that high latitude blocking. So a pattern change here. Certainly looks like a colder weather pattern setting up across much of the nation as we progress through the month of March, perhaps lasting all the way into April. But for the next few days, a major storm impacts much of the nation, from California today, the Rocky Mountains tomorrow. A severe weather outbreak on the table later tomorrow into tomorrow night, even into Friday. Potential for some significant snow from the upper Midwest on Friday into the northeastern part of the nation, especially upstate Pennsylvania, New York State, New England, later Friday night into the day on Saturday. That's it for now for ArcfieldWeather.com. This has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.